The legislature's got to get on with that, and they have not been able to do that so far.
Thank you. That's all the responses for that question today as part of our candidate forum and those running for Senate District 14 live on our SVI Media Candidate Forum today. Our next question will be answered first by Speaker Summers. And the question is, do you agree or disagree with the 50% property tax reduction ballot initiative that has been delivered to Secretary of State Chuck Gray? And again, we'll start with Speaker Summers. Mr. Summers.
I do not support the 50% property tax reduction initiative. I believe that initiative will break the back of local government in our less wealthy counties. One thing I've learned in the debate on property taxes, not all counties are the same. Further, it will be a serious hit to education funding, which is constitutionally protected. I do support the amendment to the Constitution on this year's ballot, which will give the legislature the tool to reduce property tax to a more sustainable level while thoughtfully considering the impacts to all counties. Remember, the legislature already passed several strong property tax relief bills this last session. Thank you.
And same question for Bill Winnie. Mr. Winnie.
As far as the 50%, if that were the only thing we were going to do, I would support it, but it's not enough. The real issue is what I talked just a minute ago about indexing property taxes for inflation and making sure that those on fixed incomes are protected. That's the real problem we have to face. The legislature has to get on with it. And we see a lot of people coming into Wyoming simply because they like the tax structure and the other ways of life we have here, but they are driving prices up, which is going to push longtime residents out of their homes.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And same question for Ms. Pearson. Laura?
Thank you. I was the South Lincoln lead on this property tax initiative, so yes, I agree. The people need to know that when government spending gets out of hand, we the people have an avenue to hold government accountable. If our legislature isn't going to get it done, we will do it ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Heading into our next question, and this will be answered first by Bill Winnie. The question is, what can be done at the state level to help balance the necessary growth in needed housing while also sustaining our rural agricultural setting? Mr. Winnie.
Well, we have this real problem with people. I just talked with a guy up there at a physical therapy place. He's living in a camper at a campsite. So what are we going to do? We got to build the housing for them. We got to reserve the land footprint for them. They're trying to do that in Teton County, but in other places we need to do it. At the same time, we have to pay attention to things like wildlife corridors. We need to make sure that we don't build right across a wildlife corridor. So what are we going to do? The legislature's got to get on it, and county commissioners got to get on it. It's not an easy answer. I support building such housing. We need the people to work for us.
Thank you, Bill. And same question for Laura.
Thank you. What is the definition of necessary growth? People fleeing their states coming to Wyoming as an escape, thinking this state will solve all their problems? Or bringing new technologies, renewables here that are frankly inefficient and harmful to our wildlife and beautiful landscapes, just because we have wide open spaces and they think we are a bunch of uninformed citizens that won't put up a fight. I'm all for people moving here. I get it. Most of our country is a mess. But don't think that we aren't going to fight for what makes Wyoming, Wyoming. We better start thinking about our water and food supply. We need more incentives for rural ag producers to sell their product locally and the ability to get rid of the middleman. What about U.S.-owned packing plants and more local plants? We need to find a way for ranchers, farmers, and their children to want to stay. There is no money in it. They can't afford property taxes, insurance, electricity, fuel, leases, government regulations, or feed. So they have to sell land piece by piece to stay afloat. We, as a state, need to become self-sufficient, and instead of starving the ranchers and farmers into submission, we need to embrace them.
Thank you, Laura. And Speaker Summers, same question regarding growth and balancing rural and agricultural settings.
Thank you. At the state level, Wyoming law allows for a county to implement zoning, which gives the county control over the subdivision process. I believe in local control, and those decisions are best left to the county and its citizens. I recognize the need for affordable housing, and the legislature is studying that topic right now. I also successfully supported funding the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Trust Fund to its original goal. This pot of money helps fund voluntary conservation easements, which preserve ranching, wildlife, and our rural nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. Appreciate those of you who are joining us for our live candidate forum here on SVI Media, both with video coverage at svinews.com and live radio coverage during the weekday wake up. This next question for our candidates is in response to the energy industry specific to Southwest Wyoming. We realize that this is a larger question, and so our candidates will actually have more time to answer this. We're giving 2 minutes for this question for our candidates to answer, and I do believe we are to Laura to answer this question first. The question is, energy production in Southwest Wyoming is changing. In light of nuclear power coming to Kemmer, what are your thoughts on the direction of energy production in the state? And if elected, what direction would you try to take this industry? In addition, what do you see as the future of coal, natural gas, and other natural resources in terms of energy production? Again, 2 minutes if you'd like for this response. Laura Pearson, we'll start with you.
Thank you. Nuclear is several years out. Wyoming cannot turn away from coal and natural gas for baseload energy based on, and in my opinion, false climate change narrative. Solar and wind are not efficient energy resources. We must protect coal, gas, and oil. Wyoming is the leader in energy production, and there is a market for our minerals. I think the future of oil, gas, and coal is optimistic. We just need new leadership to further develop and sell on the international market and to accomplish our mineral potentials.
Thank you, Laura. And Speaker Summers, same question for you.
As a legislator, I have supported our traditional energy production in Wyoming, like coal, oil, and natural gas, by ensuring we have a responsive regulatory structure, by supporting the creation of the Wyoming Energy Authority, and through comments to federal agencies. I support the Natrium project in Kemmer and help develop the regulatory framework for nuclear energy in Wyoming. I have mixed feelings about wind energy because it eats up landscapes, but it is an important industry in places like Carbon County. I support a wind tax because I think that industry needs to pull its own weight. I am not a fan of solar farms, but I support private property rights if someone wishes to put them on their land. Wyoming will continue to lead the nation in energy, even if energy production changes shape. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. And same question regarding energy production for Bill Winnie. Mr. Winnie.
Well, coal, oil, natural gas have other uses than the production of kilowatt hours. They go into the chemical industry, and we need to make sure that they stay productive and protected. The future of the nuclear, the Kemmer site is actually, as I understand it, licensed or predicted to have 2 plants there, but I think there's other places we can put those plants. And so I see a longer-term energy future for Wyoming. We have the nuclear fuels. We need to, and some mining is going on, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more that could be done. The other part is conversion of those mined nuclear fuels into productive fuel for loading in a reactor. So we get this Kemmer plant going. We demonstrate that it performs properly, and I'm sure that it will. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission is very thorough in what they do. So we get that going. And then we start looking at building others in other places so we can export those kilowatt hours and also drive down our own cost. As regards wind and solar, those are intermittent, and we have to be careful. I don't like the footprint they develop, and so we're going to have to be careful about that.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. That's all for that question. We appreciate you joining us for our live candidate forum on SVI Media, broadcast live on Swift and the Spur, with also video coverage at SVInews.com and the SVI Media YouTube channel. Currently speaking with those running for Senate District 14, including candidates Albert Summers, Bill Winnie, and Laura Tolliver Pearson. Heading into our next question, Speaker Summers, I believe you are answering this question first. And the question is, the group known as the Wyoming Freedom Caucus continues to see growth among state legislators. Are you a member, or would you become a member of the Freedom Caucus if elected? And do you support the mission of this group? Mr. Summers.
I am not a member of this group, and I will never become a member of this group. The Wyoming Freedom Caucus is part of the nationwide State Freedom Caucus network, and it is my understanding they receive support from this national group. Freedom Caucus members in the Wyoming House receive daily texts and emails from their handlers directing them how to vote. Members must vote a certain way or be chastised by their backers' rating sites. This is not consistent with conservative values, the basic tenets of our democratic republic, or the Wyoming that I grew up in. I am an independent thinker who will listen to the voices of my constituents and do the best I can for Southwest Wyoming and the state of Wyoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Mr. Winnie, same question for you regarding the Freedom Caucus.
Well, I have observed the Freedom Caucus from the galleries for a number of years. I know John Baer, the head of that outfit, quite well. I agree with some of the things they do, but not everything. And the idea that they have to work in lockstep, if you look at the voting record of their members, is not accurate. On the other hand, you have the Wyoming State Republican Party, which wants people to adhere to an 80% or better platform support. And yet, at the end of the day, a legislator is obligated to vote and support things that the people of his district want first, last, and always. And I will do that.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And same question for Laura Pearson. Laura?
Thank you. I'm not a member of the Freedom Caucus. This was a group created for the House. That being said, I do agree with many of their arguments. They want to be proactive, not reactive, on several issues that are coming to the Wyoming near you. I 100% agree with that. We need to be looking at what is headed our way and stop sticking our heads in the sand saying it's not happening in Wyoming, only to have it here 1 to 2 years later. We need to protect Wyoming.
Thank you, Laura. Heading into our next question, this will be answered first by Mr. Bill Winnie. And the question is, do you trust that elections in Wyoming are safe and accurate? And do you feel ballot drop boxes should be used? Mr. Winnie.
I do not agree with ballot drop boxes. I feel that Wyoming's method of voting is safe and accurate. I voted absentee as a active duty military guy for many, many years, and I've seen how the sublet county clerk has run that process. I'm sure the other county clerks do the same, and so I feel the balloting and the counting of ballots is accurate. However, the drop boxes does enable some amount of playing around, and therefore I don't support them.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And same question for Laura Tolliver Pearson. Laura?
Thank you. After 2020, I'm questioning everything. I think Wyoming elections are better than most states, but 100% safe and accurate? I would say likely not. I'm familiar with the Wyoming Republican Party, election integrity, and security committee's work. Wyoming elections are not perfect. As far as drop boxes, no, I'm not in favor of the drop boxes. They were implemented for a state of emergency, COVID. That is over. so the old method of delivering your ballots directly to the county clerk as required by Wyoming law should be enforced. We elected this Secretary of State for a reason.
Thank you, Laura. And Speaker Summers, same question for you regarding election integrity and ballot drop boxes.
Thank you. I was co-sponsor of the 2021 voter ID bill that requires a photo ID to vote, which improved an already secure system in Wyoming. I totally trust Wyoming's elections and Wyoming's county clerks. I am a local control legislator, and I believe that locally elected county clerks can make the decision on whether to use a ballot drop box or not. There is no indication in Wyoming that there has been any voting fraud from the few ballot drop boxes that have been placed in Wyoming. I really do not support ballot drop boxes, but I do support our county clerks and those decisions they make. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. We appreciate you joining us for our live candidate forum on SVI Radio and SVI Media this morning. Swift 98, The Spur, with video coverage also at SVInews.com. Again, for those just tuning in, we are asking questions to local legislative candidates running for state, Senate, and House of Representative offices. We are currently speaking with candidates from Senate District 14, current Speaker of the House, Albert Summers, Bill Winning, and Laura Tolliver Pearson. Later on, we'll be asking questions to candidates running for the House of Representatives, including House Districts 18, 21, and 22. And following that, we'll have questions for those candidates running for Lincoln County Commissioner. Our next question will be first answered, by Laura Pearson. And Laura, the next question is: the 2024 Wyoming legislature passed a bill that would have eliminated gun-free zones in the state. However, the bill was vetoed by Governor Gordon. If elected, what would your stance be on gun-free zones should a similar bill be brought forward? Ms. Pearson.
Thank you. I think gun-free zones, otherwise known as victim disarmament zones or soft target zones, should be repealed. Gun-free zones are a violation of our Second Amendment right to self-defense, guaranteed to us through the Constitution. And yes, there should be another bill brought forward.
Thank you, Laura. Same question, and Speaker Summers.
I voted in favor of House Bill 125 that would have repealed many gun-free zones in Wyoming. The bill sponsor took the time to correct problems in the bill as they came up in the amendment process. However, after it left the House, I found out that the passage of House Bill 125 would have allowed someone to carry an AR-15 into the Jonah Field or a Rita Auditorium at UW. I do not support people carrying long rifles into college sporting events where alcohol is served. I certainly support repealing gun-free zones. However, I think we need to take a look at Utah's law on open and concealed carry. I voted in favor of House Bill 125, even though I believe local school boards should be allowed to craft their own rules on guns in their schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. And same question for Mr. Bill Winning. Bill?
I find the gun-free zones issue an empty gesture. I have spoken up on it this past legislative session and previous sessions when those kind of bills came up. I had the unique experience of being a former commander of a nuclear-powered fleet ballistic missile submarine, being interviewed by the head of the nuclear weapons program in the Department of Defense for a job under him, and it was in Berkeley, and put up that said nuclear weapons free zone. I feel the same thing about the gun free zones.
Thank you, Mr. Winning. Our next question will be first answered by Speaker Summers. And the question is: how would you describe the current status of education funding in Wyoming, and what changes, if any, do you feel are needed? Mr. Summers?
The legislature is constitutionally required to provide an equitable, adequate K-12 education to every child in Wyoming, and this has been enforced through multiple Supreme Court decisions.
Okay.
I support the current structure for education funding in Wyoming and have twice served as the co-chairman on the Select Committee for School Finance Recalibration. Generally, I believe we fund schools adequately. However, I have always believed that small schools and small districts have not been adequately funded when compared to the opportunities provided in large schools and districts. That is an issue I will continue to work on. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. And same question, Mr. Bill Winnie.
As I look at school teachers, we struggle with how to improve school performance in Wyoming. I've observed our education committee for a number of years now. And my sense of things is we need to pay teachers more. Wyoming seems to treat teachers as if they're a school marm from 1890s. Teachers are professionals. So what are we going to do? We got to get out there, get the right teachers, and we have a lot of good ones in the state. Don't misunderstand me. But the way you make sure you hang on to them is what you pay them. So where do we get the money from? That was wrapped up in part in the property tax issue we talked about earlier. So it comes down to where do you allocate your money? How do you control spending? And that's what I'm going to work on.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And same question for Laura Tolliver Pearson. Laura? Did we lose Laura? Laura, do we have you there?
Are you there now?
Now we got you. Yep, we are
Thank
to you, Laura. We're on the question. No, I think you've answered this question, right? You've answered the gun-free zone question. All right. So we are going to move on to the next question this morning, and this will be the question I believe we are to Mr. Winnie. I think we're going to let you answer this question first. The next question is, how would you describe the current status of education funding in Wyoming, and what changes, if any, do you feel are needed? Okay, you're right. Sorry, we had a little mic problem there. We're getting caught back up. Laura, let's let you answer this question regarding education funding in Wyoming.
Call your sister and tell her to quit calling your mom. She's on an interview. Quick.
Laura, go ahead.
Hello, are you there? Are we still on the funding for education, or which one are we
Correct. Education funding. Sorry about that.
on? Okay, sorry about that. I think we need to see exactly where that funding is going and what it's being spent on. Possibly, like Scott Heiner suggested, split the block grant in order to dedicate funding to the boots in the classroom employees, so we ensure those employees are getting what they deserve. With the amount of funding education gets in Wyoming, we aren't seeing the results. This is not the fault of our teachers. There is virtually no local control, despite what you are being told. The funding isn't getting to the classroom where it needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. And same question for Speaker Summers. Mr. Summers?
I believe I already answered that question.
All right. I apologize. Getting caught up with after our tech glitch. All right. Let's move on to the next question now this morning. The question is, what is your stance on parental rights in Wyoming public schools when it comes to gender pronouns of students and transitioning students? And let's see, Laura, let's start with you first on this question, if you would, Ms. Pearson.
Okay, thank you. I'm in favor of parental rights in education, and I'm sick of all of this pronoun gender ideology crap being pushed on our students. I'm 100% in favor of how people want to live, but don't be pushing it on our children in the education system. Public education is to teach children reading, writing, math, science, and history. They should not be in the business of creating confusion in the minds of our youth.
Thank you, Laura. Same question for Speaker Summers. Mr. Summers?
In the 2024 budget session, I voted for Senate File 9 and House Bill 92, which strengthen parental rights in Wyoming, particularly on these issues. Parents should make those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. And same question for Mr. Winnie. Bill?
We sometimes confuse the word rights with authorities. Parents have the rights to how their children are raised. School systems, school administrators, teachers, and other faculty and staff exercise authorities granted them by the legislature or the local school board. But let's be clear, the parents have absolute rights in my mind as to how their children should be raised, and schools should not be interfering in that.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. All right, we are just about ready to close out our Senate portion of our candidate forum this morning live on SVI Media. Just one question remaining, and then our candidates will be given a chance for a closing statement. And Mr. Summers, I believe we are to you to answer first on this final question. What is your stance on abortion and the current abortion laws in Wyoming? Speaker Summers.
Thank you. I have a proven track record of voting pro-life. In 2022, I voted for the trigger bill that would ban abortion in Wyoming after the Supreme Court ruled that abortion decisions were up to the states. In 2023, I voted for House Bill 152, Life as a Human Right Act, after the Senate fixed some constitutional issues, and I voted for Senate File 109 that prevents chemical abortions. In 2024, I voted for House Bill 148 that further regulates abortion. The abortion issue is now in the courts, and we need to wait for their decision to better understand our next steps. In 2023, I voted for House Bill 4 that extended Medicaid postpartum coverage for women. I believe you need to be pro-mother if you're going to be pro-life, which means that the state should help pregnant women and children in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Summers. And same question for Mr. Winnie. Bill?
There are two issues involved in abortion, the abortion debate. The first issue is there are complications in pregnancies that threaten the life of the mother, such as an ectopic pregnancy. In those cases, the medical world knows how to handle them and should take care of them. If it involves an abortion because the mother's life is threatened, that's okay. On the other hand, what do you do with a normal full-term baby? There are those that will seek to confuse the issue by calling an abortion, in that case, health care. It's not health care. That baby is coming along. It has a heartbeat. It feels things. And we have to stand up. Who shall speak for the baby?
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And also, Laura Tolliver-Pearson, your response?
Thank you. I am 100% pro-life, except in the instance that a mother's life is at risk. When Roe was overturned and abortion was returned to the states, Wyoming made a clear decision in the way that it wanted to go. HB 152, Life is a Human Right Act, passed with 81% of the vote. SF 109, banning chemical abortions, passed the 93-member legislature with 88% of the vote. HB 148, abortion regulations, passed with 83% of the vote. The fact that HB 152 and SF 109 are now tied up in the court system and HB 148 was vetoed by our governor is ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. All right, that's the final question for our candidates to answer today. We'll close out by giving each candidate a chance to give us a closing statement. And we will start with Mr. Summers. You're up next to go first, and so we'll allow you to give us your closing statement. Bill?
You just said Mr. Summers, and then you looked at me.
I sorry, I've made that mistake a couple of times. Bill Winnie. I'm sorry, Mr. Winnie.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we're up. I have been speaking in front of the legislature for a number of years now. How I think and how I do business is well known by those who have heard me. If you go look at my website, you will find a page there where I go to and talk about the bills I spoke up on and a thumbnail of what I said in front of the legislature this past session. What you see is what you get. I have a clear track record you can look to. This is important. As you do your research on all the candidates, you can see where I stand. What you see is what you get. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. And Laura Tolliver Pearson, your closing statement.
Thank you. I am asking for your vote on August 20th. At the end of the day, I can see what is happening to our state and our country. Regardless of what our legislators say on how they voted, if they are not willing to go back into special session and support those votes, then in my mind, they don't support those votes. There were 5 important bills that we should have gone back into special session for. My signs say patriotic Republican because I am willing to die for God, state, and country. I have a growing family with 3 grandchildren that need Wyoming to thrive. Our constitutional republic needs us, and I need you to get engaged, do your research, and provide input. I will be your voice, your servant. We have a bright future ahead of us. Let's right this ship together. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And closing comment for Speaker Summers. Mr. Summers?
Well, first, thank you, Duke, and thank you, SVI, for putting this forum on. As a state representative for the last 12 years, I've worked to solve problems for my constituents, business owners, and communities. My endorsements from the Wyoming Contractors Association, the Wyoming Realtors Association, the Wyoming Mining Association, the Wyoming Stock Growers Association, the Wyoming Hospitality and Travel Association, the Petroleum Association of Wyoming, and the Wyoming Medical Society demonstrate the support I have from the business community. These are the businesses that support the jobs that support the families of Southwest Wyoming. I have the experience and have built the relationships to be a successful senator for Southwest Wyoming. Don't be fooled by misinformation generated from rating sites supported by the Freedom Caucus and its allies. Call me at 307-360-7060 with questions or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. That will conclude our Senate candidate portion of our SVI Media Candidate Forum. And you've heard from current Speaker of the House, that's Albert Summers from Pinedale, Mr. Bill Winnie out of Bondurant, and Laura Tolliver Pearson out of Kemmer, all running for Senate District 14, the Wyoming primary election coming up on August 20th. And we encourage you again to, you can find the archive of this full candidate forum online later at SVInews.com, as well as on the SVI Media YouTube channel. We'll take a quick break here. We'll come back with candidates running for the House of Representatives and the Wyoming State Legislature, including House District 18, 21, and 22 candidates. It's the SVI Media Candidate Forum, live on SVI Radio and SVI Media.
Be ready for cool fall nights and frigid winter cold with high-quality Fall River propane. Now at the lowest price of the year. Fall River's summer fill special is so low we can't even mention it on the radio. Fill up your tank and save hundreds of dollars. Not a Fall River customer? Switch now to the area's #1 choice, Fall River Propane. Visit fallriverpropane.com, but hurry, offer ends soon.
River Propane, experience the difference.
Making smart financial decisions for your future is important. That's why First Bank of Wyoming offers a large range of deposit products to meet your financial needs. Hi, this is Stephanie. Whether you're interested in CDs, savings, checking, or money market accounts, we'll make sure your finances are safe, secure, and FDIC insured up to the allowable limits. We also provide a variety of banking services such as online and mobile banking, bill pay, and more, so you can manage your accounts anytime, anywhere. Find financial security with First Bank of Wyoming, division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC.
It will be a night to remember at Blue Ribbon Barn on Saturday, July 27th for the Barn Dance with a blend of many music genres located at 750 Cedar Creek Road, north of Thane. There will also be an all-you-can-eat street taco dinner from Stuffed Catering, DJ, and dancing. It's $28 per ticket, and a cash bar also available on site. It's the Barn Dance at Blue Ribbon Barn, north of Thane, Saturday, July 27th at 6:30 p.m. For tickets, call Blue Ribbon Barn at 307-222-4125. That's 222-4125.
Warm summer greetings from Star Valley United Church in Thane, where all are welcome. We are super excited to announce our Vacation Bible School dates this summer from Monday, July 29th through Friday, August 2nd. All children ages kindergarten through 6th grade are invited to join us for daily games, Bible study, crafts, songs, and fun. Staff members from Luther Heights Camp will be bringing us a taste of camp right here in Star Valley, complete with time around the campfire. For information or to let us know you're coming, please call Julie at 307-880-6637. Hope to see you. It's going to be fun.
Marcella's Italian and Pizzeria is open in Thane, serving fresh pizza and craft Italian cuisine. Located next to Brolam's at 130 US 89, Marcella's is serving pastas, pizzas, sandwiches, and much more. Call or come in and place your order or have a seat and stay a while. Contact Marcella's at 307-883-4656 or stop by at 130 US 89.
If you or a loved one is dealing with an addiction, help is available with the free addiction recovery programs offered in Star Valley. Whether it's substance abuse, opioids, pornography, or any kind of addiction, these courses can help you overcome them. A pornography addiction meeting for men only is held every Sunday at 5 p.m., along with a spouse and family support meeting for women only, also at 5 p.m. General addiction recovery is also every Sunday at 7 p.m. Due to the remodeling taking place at the Afton LDS Seminary building, all Sunday meetings will be held at the Afton Town Hall until the remodel project is completed in August. In addition, another general addiction recovery class is held every Thursday at the Thane LDS Stake Center at 7 p.m. These courses are free and open to all. Help is available.
From Lyman to Diamondville, LaBarge to Big Piney, and Cokeville to Alpine, this is the Weekday Wake Up on the SVI Radio Network.
7:48 is our time this morning. Thank you for joining us live on Swift 98 and The Spur, all part of the SVI Radio Network. And thank you for tuning in to our SVI Media Candidate Forum, which is taking place this morning during the Weekday Wake Up. A few minutes ago, we wrapped up our candidate forum with those running for the state Senate in the Wyoming legislature within our radio listening audience that include those from Senate District 14. And at this time, we're going to move on to those running for the House of Representatives in the Wyoming State Legislature. And in our radio footprint on Swift and The Spur, that includes House District 18 in southern Lincoln County and other portions of neighboring counties. That includes Scott Heiner and the challenger Thomas Crank. House District 21 in the Star Valley area includes McKay Erickson and Deb Wolfley. That seat previously held by Lane Allred, and he is not seeking re-election. House District 22 covering the northern end of Star Valley and portions of Teton County, and that is Andrew Byron running unopposed, who currently holds the seat. So those 5 candidates joining us today. We do have Mr. Erickson, Mr. Wolfley, and Mr. Byron with us in studio. Mr. Crank from House District 18 will be joining us remotely. He is live, but will be joining us remotely. And Mr. Scott Heiner, when the date for this forum was scheduled, he had previous commitments, and so we've allowed him to pre-record his answers. He's been held to the exact same standard that our current candidates, our live candidates were. He was held to the same time limits. He was given the same amount of time to prepare with the questions, and he was also only given one shot to answer as if it were live. No edits or retakes for Mr. Heiner when he pre-recorded his answers. It was done as if he were live. So all 5 of those candidates in studio, all running for the Wyoming State Legislature. How this will work is each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer each question. We'll rotate who goes first and go down the line and through the order. Each candidate will be given a chance for an opening and closing statement. And again, this entire forum will be recorded and available post-viewing on demand online at svinews.com and on the SVI YouTube channel. Thank you all of our candidates for joining us today. Let's start with Representative Byron, House District 22, and the opening statement first. Again, 1 minute. Mr. Byron, opening statement. Thank you.
Duke, thanks for having me today. My name is Andrew Byron. I currently represent House District 22 in the Wyoming State House, which is, as Duke mentioned, northern Lincoln County and parts of southern and southwest Teton County. I serve on the Revenue Committee as well as the TRW Committee, and then I have a Select Committee, which is the WWNRT Committee. I'm happy to be here today. Obviously unopposed. I think the listening audience is here to listen to the potentially the other races, but I'm looking forward to answering the questions and getting to it. So thanks, Duke.
Thank you, Mr. Byron. And opening statement for Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Good morning, Duke. Thank you for allowing this to happen. Appreciate it. Just like to introduce myself briefly. Many people in this district know me, but there's probably many people that don't, has moved in. And so I'm born and raised here in Star Valley in this district area. My wife and I have 6 wonderful children and grandchildren. We've operated and own a business here in the Afton area for 20 years. I've been involved in different forms of government experience as far as the county commission and the school board and sheriff and things like that. And so I have a master's in public administration. So I'm just here to answer some questions and meet people here and meet you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. And opening statement for Mr. McKay Erickson.
Again, I would also echo for you putting all this together, Duke. It's a great opportunity. I'd like to dive right into the reasons that I'm running and stepping up to the challenge of this process. First of all, it's a way of giving back. I've always said all my life I would seek an office such as this, and I think it's giving back for the great things that have been given to me. I have the ability also to get things done for people and represent them in a way that protects Star Valley and the values and promotes for the future the things that makes us stick out and makes us unique. It's all around conservative principles, specifically independence, financial responsibility, personal freedoms. The support I'm getting has been amazing. It's ignited more to a true representative and to represent those loyalty of those constituents. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McKay Erickson. And joining us again remotely is Mr. Thomas Crank. Mr. Crank.
Yes, Duke, thank you for hosting this forum. Again, I'm Tom Crank. I'm from Kemmer. I'm running to become the representative for House District 18. It has been my pleasure to previously has represented House District 18 from 2017 through 2020. My experience includes 30 years as a business owner, 42 years in private engineering and land surveying practice, 6 years as a Lincoln County representative on the Upper Green River Basin Joint Powers Water Board, and the last 3.5 years on the Lincoln County Planning and Zoning Board. In my professional role, I've worked for nearly all communities in Southwest Wyoming, along with several of our large industrial plants and mines. I've been active in the community for over 40 years and have always been open to meeting people and learning new things. I'm a level-headed problem solver, and I would appreciate your vote to become the representative for House District 18.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. And the pre-recorded response from Mr. Scott Heiner.
The House Minerals, Economic Development, and also on the Select Committee for Federal Natural Resources. I've been given... Hello, my name is Scott Heiner. I'm the representative for House District 18, seeking re-election. I've been a legislator for 4 years now. The district that I represent includes Kemmer, Diamondville, and Cokeville. I am endorsed by the Gun Owners of America, as well as Wyoming Right to Life and U.S. Senator Mike Lee of Utah. I currently serve as Vice Chair of the House Minerals, Economic Development, and also on the Select Committee for Federal Natural Resources. I've been given a ranking of 100% by several conservative groups that they evaluate all of the records and votes of legislators, and I would appreciate the opportunity to continue to serve, that I might represent the people in Wyoming.
That's again Mr. Scott Heiner and his response. All right, let's head into the question portion of our House of Representatives candidate forum this morning, and we'll rotate who goes first. And so Mr. Deb Wolfley will take this first question and the first answer. The first question, of course, property taxes, one of the biggest issues facing residents in Western Wyoming. What are your plans to end the large increases in property taxes that have been seen, and also to return those taxes to manageable levels? Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thank you for that very important question, Duke. This is a huge issue which affects so many people, all of us here in this district and the state of Wyoming. And so what my plans are and thoughts is first of all, we need to get a better handle on our state spending. I think that when we look at what's going on there, that there is plenty of money in the state budget. When we budget wisely and securely as far as the revenue coming in, then we can really take care of this property tax issue. Some of the long-term plans that I've been working with other legislators throughout the state is that we will have eventually 6 to 8 years do away with property tax entirely. And then in the meantime, we'll have some short-term goals. This next year, we'll bring back Senate File 54, where we can have a property tax relief right away off that. And so we've got to have some plans in place there. I'm working with that, and I think that we can do that to help our citizens and take care of property tax.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. And Mr. Erickson, same question regarding property taxes.
Okay, I like the plans that are in motion. I think that finally people around the state are recognizing that this has been a major issue, and they're stepping up and talking about it more and coming up with plans. I like the 3 bills, or the 4 bills that actually passed, the 5 that made it through, and then 1 was vetoed. I like that. It's a good start. It's not everything, but it's a good start. And we've got to focus around those and make sure that we especially establish the 4% cap and keep that going. I'm watching seeing the basic way of cutting taxes. That's the only way government can quit requiring so much money, and actually our property tax doesn't go to the big coffers of the state. It goes to education and towns and counties. So
thank you, Mr. Erickson. And Mr. Tom Crank, same question regarding property taxes.
Yes, I support a constitutional amendment to break out residential properties from commercial and industrial properties. I think this will give us the flexibility needed to better address the problem. I support time-limited increases in property taxes. A question that comes up for me is why do my taxes go up because the neighbor sold their home for more money? And why does the government believe it is entitled to more funding from this without any direct changes to its cost? I think those are questions that need to be answered. There's got to be a better way. I think time will tell which direction the proposed changes will make, and we can work from there. I will work to answer the questions above concerning why the government feels it's more entitled to funding just because somebody else sold something for more. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. And the pre-recorded answer from Representative Scott Heiner.
As we went into the session in February, we knew that the highest priority for the citizens of Wyoming are property taxes. Almost every property tax bill, we had 20 of them that came through the session, I voted in favor for, hoping to have some substantial reform and relief for the citizens of Wyoming. Unfortunately, the best one that we put on the governor's desk, he vetoed. That would have returned $220 million back to the taxpayers. We, in the last 2 years, put $2 billion, that's with a B, we put $2 billion into savings for the state savings accounts. We can afford to put $220 million back to the taxpayers that are struggling with the high inflation rate and property tax that's increased over 70% in the past 3 years. I will continue to fight to bring relief and reform for property tax in Wyoming.
Representative Heiner with that answer, and Representative Byron, same question regarding property taxes.
Yeah, thank you. I currently serve on the Revenue Committee, which got most of those property tax bills, and I'm proud of the work that we got done. I co-sponsored a very, very important bill and helped draft the bill, which is a 4% cap on your property taxes, your residential property taxes. That was, in my last campaign, that was said it could never be done, and we got it done. I think it's really important that we expanded the property relief bill, which really helps northern Lincoln County, southern Lincoln County, and all of Wyoming. In addition, I think that one that gets forgotten often that'll be, it's already in statute, that'll be implemented in 2025 is a 50% reduction if you're over 65 years old and you've paid property taxes in Wyoming for 25 years. That was formerly 30 years. I personally amended that in committee down to 25 years. So work's been done. You see it on your bill, you see it in your checkbook, you see it in your bank account. That doesn't mean more work doesn't need to be done. So, as a member of the Revenue Committee heading into the end of this interim session, we're going to continue to do the work, and we really need to bring relief back and reform back to the people, and I'm proud of the work that we have done and we will do.
Thank you, Representative Byron. It's all part of our SVI Media Candidate Forum, speaking currently with those running for the House of Representatives in the Wyoming State Legislature. And live in studio today, running for House District 22 is the Representative Andrew Byron, running unopposed. House District 21, McKay Erickson and Deb Wolfley. And House District 18, joining us remotely is Thomas Crank, with Representative Scott Heiner having pre-recorded his responses this morning. All right, let's head on to the next question. And Mr. McKay Erickson will have a chance to go first with this question. The next question is, in light of nuclear power coming to Lincoln County and Kemmer, what are your thoughts on the direction of energy production in the state? And if elected, what direction would you try to take this industry? And what do you see as the future of coal, natural gas, and other natural resources in terms of energy production? Mr. Erickson.
Supporter of Wyoming energy and our resources first. And I think we need to do whatever we can to continue those base resources and forward. I'm not opposed to the nuclear. I think there's a lot of great things that could happen out of that, but my focus will be on making sure that we're supporting the base of our natural resources that are so plentiful. We've come a long way with technology, and we have the ability to do both. Watch the environment, protect the environment, but still have these resources that can be brought out and can be safely brought to the market. I'm very much in support of that. I also think that we can and will make government move away from these subsidized green energy. I think that's the wrong way to go about it.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. And Mr. Crank, same question for you regarding energy production in Wyoming.
I'm a supporter of the nuclear plant coming to Kemmer. I believe the technology is out there to make it safe and provide clean energy into the future. I've always said, let's use the best technologies and safety procedures currently available, and let's get it done. We need to support we need to get support services for this industry set up in Southwest Wyoming, so we have more opportunity for employment. We need to keep the fight moving forward in Washington, that our natural resources are not the problem here. Our people can supply these resources in a clean and efficient way. Once this narrative shifts by administrative change or otherwise, these resources have a chance of reclaiming a larger market. We must remain vigilant in promoting these industries.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. And the response from Representative Scott Heiner.
Oil, fossil fuels. While I support nuclear, I have not given up on coal, oil, fossil fuels, and all of the other legacy natural resources we have in abundance here in Wyoming. We are being inundated with federal overreach, with left-wing environmentalists trying to shut off these fossil fuels. With science, we can eliminate or reduce the emissions from these legacy fuels. We can generate ammonia out of coal. We can capture the emissions of our coal-fired power plants. But the problem is it's more geared towards politics than science. I will continue to fight to keep our mines open, our coal mines open, our power plants in operation, and being able to utilize the natural resources that the Lord has given us here in the state of Wyoming.
And same question for Representative Byron regarding energy production. Representative?
Thank you. we need to support our core legacy industries, which is our friends and neighbors in northeast Wyoming. Unfortunately, there's been a direct attack on them through this last administration in Washington, and we need to support our governor who continues to push back on that. We need to support our electeds in Washington coming from Wyoming that continue to fight for that. And we need Powder River Basin in northeast Wyoming just had a 30% decline in coal production. There's an article yesterday. We can't have that. We need to continue to fight to keep those legacy industries alive as they drive our economy. As for the nuclear, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for Southwest Wyoming. I think as rural government, we can certainly get some infrastructure in place, but we need to get out of the way, and we need to let the private sector that's really driving that ship get to work and let them excel at what they're good at and support that nuclear plant.
Thank you, Representative Byron and Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thanks, Duke, for this question. It's very important. I do support the nuclear effort in southwest Wyoming. I think some great potential there. One of the key issues we really have to focus on is to work and fight against the federal overreach, what mandates, trying to mandate, what's going to happen with our natural resources in Wyoming. We have been blessed to use these resources there. We want to continue to do all we can to help these businesses whatever we can to mine and produce these minerals, which produces so much revenue for the state of Wyoming. I just think that we need to diversify as much as we can and to look forward and to use, the resources out there. And coal has more things that we can do to help produce that for a variety of reasons there. And so I'm very in favor of continuing the natural resources there to help provide good income and revenue for the state of Wyoming and jobs especially.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. Again, you're listening and watching to the SVI Media Candidate Forums, currently speaking with those running for the House of Representatives in the Wyoming State Legislature. This next question will be answered first by Tom Crank out of Diamondville. And the question is, the group known as the Wyoming Freedom Caucus continues to see growth among state legislators in Wyoming. Are you a member or would you become a member if elected? And do you support the mission of this group? Mr. Crank.
Thank you. I am not a member and I will not become one. I've read their website's mission statement. It is pretty generic. I have issues with how it is applied, though. My issues center around if you're not with us, we are against you attitude and what appears to be predetermined block voting. Neither are mentioned in the mission statement, but are clearly part of the process to pass or stop legislation and to bully or intimidate others. That's not the Wyoming way as I know it, and do not support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. And the answer from Representative Scott Heiner.
I am a member of the conservative group in the Wyoming House of Representatives. We are a group that are committed to the preservation of our liberty, protecting the innocent, upholding our fundamental rights, and conserving the values that made America the city on the hill and Wyoming the beacon of light on that hill. Some are calling us extremists because we're trying to bring to light some of the things that are going on in Cheyenne that have been going on for decades that nobody talks about. Martin Luther King back in the 1500s was labeled an extremist also as he tried to bring scriptures to everyone. But he ultimately changed the world. And with the conservative group, we want to bring transparency to the state for everyone to see what really goes on in Cheyenne. Our liberties can only be protected and preserved when the government stays in its lane.
Representative Scott Heiner, and same question for Representative Andrew Byron. Andrew Byron regarding the Wyoming Freedom Caucus. Representative.
Thank you. As a member of a current member of the body, I certainly live it every day and see it every day. The irony of the Freedom Caucus is there's nothing free about it. They like to use the word freedom and they like to latch on to that. But at the end of the day, there's nothing free about it. It's their way or the highway. They have a set rule and a set spreadsheet that they have to follow to be a member of the group. They have to vote a certain way, and they don't have to vote for Wyoming values at all. Actually, I think a lot of representatives and potential candidates on this forum this morning are talking about being in Wyoming multiple generations and multiple years, decades. We're looking at a group of folks that moved here within the last 2, 3, 4 years and are told what to do. So there's there's nothing free about it. If you want to believe in freedom and you want to believe in our system of government, I would highly advise looking at candidates that don't identify it with them and that are willing to listen to every one of their constituents, work across party divide, and work for the betterment of Wyoming.
Thank you, Representative. Same question regarding the Freedom Caucus for Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thanks, Duke. I am very aware of the Wyoming Freedom Caucus, the Wyoming Caucus too, in the state legislative and the House side there. So my position is that I have core values that I represent to the folks that I back here in District 21. And these core values, you know, are very important to me. And so when I vote on these issues, are very important to me. If these issues align with how the Freedom Caucus votes, then so be it. So I'm really focused on serving our citizens and our constituents here in House District 21. My vote will be consistent for them. I represent them. I'm not aligned to any caucus, but I will be focused on serving them as I see fit and best for them.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. And same question for Mr. McKay Erickson.
Yeah, I've said since the very first of this campaign, as well as prior to watching in the last few years, that I have no sworn oath to either one. And I will represent the constituents. That's been the biggest thing. That's been a major theme of mine all the way through. I have always said that if there's someone with a good idea, I will work across whatever level it is in order to make that work and to support that and to fight for it and to be a real advocate for, again, the people that are here in my district, in District 21. That's one of the biggest things that I support in my campaign. I very much have concern with where some of the money is coming from the Freedom Caucus and the support of the Freedom Caucus, and looking into that. Lots of voters should also look into that. That's a DC company, and I think we need to pay close attention to that.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Heading into our next question this morning, and this will be first answered by Representative Scott Heiner from House District 18. The question is, do you trust that elections in Wyoming are safe and accurate, and do you feel ballot drop boxes should be used? Representative Heiner.
I have co-sponsored several election integrity bills over the past 4 years. I co-sponsored numerous ones to ensure the integrity of our elections. Our founding fathers created a constitution that would protect the rights and liberties of the people to elect those whom they choose to serve in offices. Now, as a legislator, we are like the watchman on the tower, trying to see any of these incidences or issues that might come up to infringe upon those liberties and rights. I believe during COVID, drop boxes were important and vital, but after COVID, I think we need to go back to the secure ways that we manage our elections. Now, have we had any problems with drop boxes in the past? I don't think so. But let's prevent this from happening in the future, because other areas have had these problems, and let's not let it come into Wyoming.
Thank you, Representative Heiner. And Representative Byron, same question for you regarding election integrity in Wyoming.
Thank you, Duke. Yeah, let me state that Wyoming has some of the most secure elections in the nation, the most secure elections in the nation. We need to rely on our county clerks who are right in front of it and are dealing with it day to day to continue to support these secure elections. And I think there's some irony that some folks during the pandemic thought that drop boxes were okay, and now they're not. They're either good or they're not. And I certainly support drop boxes. I support access to elections, and I support legal voters who are working amongst us, and our neighbors and our coworkers and our friends and our family getting out and getting involved. We have really low election turnout in the big scheme of things, and we need to support our clerks in getting people to show up on election day, show up during the primary, and certainly if secure drop boxes, which are proven to be secure, are one of those options, I support them. So I think we need as a body, as a House in the Senate side, and also relying on our Secretary of State, we need to continue to have access to one of the biggest principles of democracy, which is access to vote for the candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Byron. Same question for Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thank you. As far as I know, our elections are very secure and safe here in Wyoming. and I'm grateful for that. I believe that the ballot drop boxes is not the best way to go. We need to continue to work with the county clerks to have all our ballots turned into them, as you know, per statute. And so I think the ballot boxes, drop boxes, again, we're using the past there, but I do not in favor of them, and we continue to work with the county clerks and vote and record our votes accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. Same question regarding election integrity and ballot drop boxes. Mr. McKay Erickson.
Yeah, I'm very similar to what's been said already. I very much am in support of county clerks. I think they're doing the work and need to continue that. They're the experts on it. I do not support the drop boxes. I think that has a major issue with fairness and the possibility of things going wrong there. I do support whatever we can do as candidates to make sure that we get people out to vote. We typically have on August 20th on our primary elections a fairly low turnout, and I just feel a little bit more of a spirit as to people wanting to get out and vote, and I think we'll see numbers increase, but I'd like to encourage more to get out and vote on that.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. And final answer on this question from Tom Crank. Mr. Crank?
Yes, I trust that Wyoming elections are safe and accurate. To my understanding, no legitimate issues have been proven with drop boxes. Unless I find out otherwise, I have no issues with the drop boxes. I'm really a little over the narrative that Wyoming elections are not safe or accurate. I think we're doing fine, and we need to support our county clerks, and let's let people vote is, basically where I'm at with that.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. Again, thank you for joining us with our SVI Media Candidate Forums live on Swift 98 and The Spur, also with video coverage at SVInews.com. Currently speaking with local candidates running for the House of Representatives within the Wyoming State Legislature. Joining me in studio today, candidates for House District 21, McKay Erickson and Deb Wolfley. Running unopposed for House District 22 is Representative Andrew Byron, and remotely from House District 18 is Tom Crank. And again, Representative Scott Heiner from House District 18 is not able to join us live today because of previous commitments prior to the date of this forum being set. His answers have been pre-recorded. He's been held to all the exact same standards in that pre-recording that our live candidates are here today. Let's move into our next question. This will be answered first by Representative Byron. Representative, the 2024 Wyoming legislature passed a bill that would have eliminated gun-free zones in the state. However, the bill was vetoed by Governor Gordon. If elected, what would your stance be on gun-free zones should a similar bill be brought forward? Representative.
Thank you, Duke. I did vote for that bill. That bill was worked extensively during session. It's been worked a number of sessions, actually. The governor did veto that bill, and I think that was a clear message that a few things need to get tweaked in the bill. So I think that we need to go back to the appropriate committee that brought that bill and hopefully work on things. There's a conflict there. As a proud alumni of University of Wyoming, that bill would have allowed us to carry guns into, for example, a football game. Well, all of a sudden you have alcohol sales at a football game and folks carrying guns, and I think we got a big issue there. So I think we need to go back and tweak a few parts of that bill. I think we need to go back to our local school districts and keep local control and ask them how they feel. Currently have some of that going on, and then we can move forward with an appropriate piece of legislation that reflects that.
Thank you, Representative. Same question for Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thanks, Duke. The gun-free zones, I'm against those. I believe strongly in the Second Amendment. And so there's a lot of issues out there we need to look at. I'm not exactly sure on why this bill was vetoed, but I am pro-Second Amendment. I think we need to have the right to carry our firearms as we please, and so that's my stance. And when elected, look at this bill again and see what some other issues are and go from there, but I am pro-Second Amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. Mr. Erickson, same question.
Yeah, I did not support the veto from Governor Gordon. While I understand some of the things that he talked about, I did not support that. And I would support going back and reworking that to where it would be something that could get passed. I am very much a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment rights, and law-abiding citizens should be able to do what they need to do when it comes to protecting their family and the freedom that it allows to carry those.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. And the answer from Representative Scott Heiner.
I was a co-sponsor on this bill. I advocated for Second Amendment rights every chance I can. I am endorsed by the gun owners of America for my stance on the Second Amendment. I don't understand why the governor vetoed that bill. Our nation has never been invaded or taken over by foreign entities because of the Second Amendment rights. Everyone knows that we have guns here in the United States and we know how to use them. That's what protects us from invasion from other entities. I will continue to fight for any and all Second Amendment bills and rights to preserve the right to own and utilize guns and ammunition.
And the answer to the same question from Mr. Tom Crank. Mr. Crank?
Yeah, I'm confident that a similar bill will be brought forward again, and I'm a Second Amendment advocate, and like everybody, I think owner of several guns. The bill was passed in the House, failed, as I understand it, in a Senate committee, and was brought back from the dead in the Senate, then vetoed by the governor. So it had some issues. And generally, I'm not opposed to these bills. I do not feel that current Wyoming gun laws, which include gun-free zones, are onerous for Wyoming gun owners. I'd rather these be handled through local control and not the state saying you're going to do this. As an example, in a public school, it may make it more difficult to keep teachers if they have to worry that a parent-teacher conference may be interrupted by a gun. If it was a private school, we wouldn't even consider taking away the private property right to manage this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. Let's head on to our next question. This question will be answered first by Mr. Deb Wolfley. And the question is, how would you describe the current status of education funding in Wyoming, and what changes, if any, do you feel are needed? Mr. Wolfley.
Thank you, Duke. Excuse me. Very important question here, and glad that the Wyoming Constitution calls for funding for education for all students, children in the state of Wyoming, and Wyoming's done a good job on that. I just appreciate, what's been done, especially here locally in our school district here. We have some wonderful teachers, administrators, and programs, so I think that that's been good. My main focus is that really want to stress and look at the funding used for educational purposes. We all need to remember this is money coming from taxpayers in property taxes, and so we need to use that money the best way that we can for the programs to make sure that we're doing this efficiently and that we're very conservative as far as the use of this money, remembering where it's coming from, but still have the opportunity to provide programs and training and teaching for our students to help prepare them for upcoming endeavors as they move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfley. Same question for Mr. Erickson.
Yeah, my 30 years in education, I hope that gave me a little more insight than most, and very much loved that and appreciated the opportunity there. I also was able to really get down to where the rubber meets the road on education and know what kind of funding we need and other things that come into place. I think we're getting there. However, I have a great concern with us not being able to recruit and retain quality teachers. We've got to make sure that we do that. But a lot of that has to do with the price of living in Star Valley. And so that's kind of a two-prong approach. We've got to look at some other possibilities there. I also like the idea of keeping the federal government out of Wyoming education. Local control is so important where we have the local boards and things like that. I also am very encouraged in promoting schools to educate individuals in the trades and in technology. Prepare them for that.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Same question regarding education funding in Wyoming for Mr. Tom Crank.
From my experience in the legislature, education funding has relied on a block grant system that has been reviewed by the legislature several times, and the reviews typically came back that the legislature was underfunding education. This appears to have been improving with an inflation adjustment factor added over the last few years. So I think it's getting better. Possible changes. As with all small communities, the cost per student in all small districts may not be adequate on the just one size fit all block grant per student. It just costs more per student to provide the same level of service as it does in a larger district, the same as it is in small towns with their services. I would support some adjustments to small districts.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. Same question on education funding for Representative Scott Heiner.
I believe there's no greater call than to teach, to share knowledge with others, whether it's in a classroom or in other situations. I believe we should remove barriers, obstacles, and politics from our classrooms. Let the teachers teach as they have gone to school and learned to do, to share that knowledge and prepare our future generations. I will do everything I can to empower our educators to be able to educate our youth and other future generations that they can be successful. Education is very important, and we need to continue to fund it so that we can continue to prepare future generations to lead and guide our great nation and our great state.
And final answer on the education funding question from Representative Andrew Byron. Representative?
Education funding is vital to the future of our state. We talk a lot about, the exodus of youth from our state after they get done with their schooling, and whether or not that be, local schooling or state or, university or a trade school or even community colleges. So we really need to continue to support that funding model. What frustrates me and what I continue to dive into is where that money goes. That has been mentioned in this forum this morning. And, I want to see that money get into the teachers' pockets. It's all about retention. We have some of these most wonderful educators in the nation. And, we look at the funding model and we look at the trickle down of those funds. And I certainly think it's a little bit top heavy on the administrative side. Many legislators talk about that. But I think that needs to continue to get looked at by the different committees that are tasked with that, and certainly different legislators if elected. And I think that ultimately that money needs to get put in the teachers' pockets who do the great work that they do for our youth.
Thank you, Representative. That's our final question for our House of Representative candidates running for the state legislative office. Again, from House District 18, Scott Heiner and Thomas Crank. House District Thomas Crank. House District 21, McKay Erickson and Deb Wolfley. And House District 22 is Andrew Byron. Each of our candidates will be given a chance for a closing statement as we close out this portion of our candidate forum. And it looks like we are to Mr. Erickson to begin first. Mr. Erickson, your closing statement this morning.
Great. I'll end where I started, and that is my goal is to be a true representative of this great valley. I'm not looking to be a politician or fill another government job. Have no interest in that. I'm being so invested in this valley and state, I can't and will not be satisfied with the status quo. I am digging in and will continue to be involved at the highest level. It's a great honor to be trusted with this position and supported. And I'd encourage you, engage with me, and let's take this momentum into Cheyenne and throughout this great state, and remind you to vote on August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. And Mr. Tom Crank, your closing statement this morning.
Yeah, again, I'm Tom Crank, and I'm asking for your support to become the Wyoming House District 18 representative. I am a straightforward problem solver and not a political zealot looking to fight off the bad government. Our people have real problems and issues that need discussed and resolved in the open and not behind closed doors, with votes being told rather than cast. I will look at each piece of legislation with the question, what does this do for the citizens of House District 18, and will it help improve our lives for the better? Again, I would appreciate your vote on August 20th, and I'd like to add that I'm a supporter of our legacy industries. My priorities have always been economic development, private property rights, local control, parental rights, and public education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crank. And the closing statement from Representative Heiner.
Apparently, during campaign season, the word conservative takes on greater, looser meanings. It's amazing to me that legislators can go to Cheyenne, vote for higher taxes, reduced liberties, taking some of our freedoms away, and increased government regulations, and then come home during campaign season and tell everyone that they are conservatives. I believe that we should follow what our legislators do in Cheyenne as well as here at home. Are they conservative in Cheyenne when they're voting? Look at their voting records. I have been endorsed by several conservative groups. I have been a legislator not only during the 2 months of the session, I try to reach out and help people all year long. I always have been rooted for the little guy. I will continue to do that. I represent the people. I don't represent the government. I've been elected for the people, and I will work for the government and appreciate the support that you can give me during this primary election this year.
And the closing statement from Representative Byron.
Thank you. Again, Andrew Byron, running for House District 22, your current representative. I humbly ask for your vote at the primary next month, and also again here when we get to November. As your current sitting representative for that district, I'm proud of the work we've done. I'm excited to get back to the work we need to do, and I'm excited to represent every voice and every constituent in House District 22, from Star Valley Ranch through Alpine, all the way up through Hoback Junction and into Wilson. You know, it's been a blessing and an honor to get to serve the people of Wyoming, and certainly the people of House District 22. And I want to continue to get that work done for Wyoming. So humbly ask for your vote come August, and appreciate the opportunity to get in front of everyone, Duke.
Thank you, Representative. And the final closing statement from Mr. Deb Wolfley.
Thank you, Duke, for having this set up. I really appreciate it. Folks, in District 21, I really want you to know that I am excited about serving and working with you. I truly want to be your advocate and your lobbyist in Cheyenne to protect your interests, to promote things that will make our district and our state great as we work toward solving the problems. I firmly believe that we need to have, you know, a better handle on our state budget. There's some things that we can do, work out, that will help us in the long run on so many issues. I've been so blessed and fortunate in my career and life these past many years to help prepare me for this opportunity. I love working on budgets and looking at issues that involve our government and how we can improve that. Again, my life experiences, I've been blessed to have this opportunity to be able to serve you and to work for you and provide a quality representation that will be good for everybody. Thank you. I ask for your vote on August 20th.
That will conclude our candidate forum for those running for the House of Representatives in the Wyoming State Legislature. Again, joining us today live in studio, running for House District 21, McKay Erickson and Deb Wolfley. House District 22, Representative Andrew Byron, and House District 18, Scott Heiner and Thomas Crank. For those that have missed any of this or would like to go back and rewatch or re-listen, it will be available on demand online at SVInews.com, as well as on the SVI Media YouTube channel. And that includes our previous forum with our Senate District candidates from Senate District 14, and our next forum for those candidates running for Lincoln County Commissioner, including Jerry Hansen, Joe Heward, Eileen Merritt, and Mel Shumway. That forum on the way as we take a quick break here as part of the SVI Candidate Forum on SVI Media. This is an important announcement from Star Valley Health. We want to alert you to scams targeting our community, where con artists are calling residents pretending to be from local medical centers. While our team members may call you for appointment reminders or follow-ups, we will never ask for personal information like your social security number or credit card number over the phone. If something doesn't feel right, hang up. This is a community alert from your friends at Star Valley Health.
Hello, Southwest Wyoming. This is Albert Summers announcing that I am running for the Republican nomination for Senate District 14 in the upcoming August 20th primary election. It has been an honor to serve as the representative for House District 20, mostly Sublette County, over the last 12 years, including the last 2 years as the Speaker of the House. I have deep roots in Southwest Wyoming, as both sets of grandparents were early settlers in the Green River Valley. I've been blessed to have spent my entire life here working as a rancher, enjoying our vast landscapes and communities in one of the last best places in the country. In reflecting, I still have a deep commitment to serve each of you and the state of Wyoming. So I am running to continue to address key issues like education, fiscal responsibility, broadband access, protecting our water, strengthening our core industries of Trona oil, natural gas, and coal, and thoughtful property tax relief. I appreciate your support and look forward to earning your vote. Special thanks to Senator Fred Baldwin for his dedicated service to Senate District 14, paid for by Albert Summers.
If you're ready to drop a few pounds and get back to a healthier lifestyle, contact local health and weight loss coach Brian Drollinger. Brian lives right here in Western Wyoming in the Star Valley community, and he has helped thousands of people across the world reach their weight loss goals. And what's even better is it isn't the initial weight loss that's important to Brian. His biggest goal is to help you keep the weight off once you've lost it. I'll personally guarantee that this program works. Since giving it a shot myself, I've lost 30 pounds in a little over 3 months, and I feel completely confident that I can keep the weight off. And I'll be the first to admit I did not follow the program to a T either, and it still worked for me, and it can work for you too. Even those with the busiest schedules can have success. To learn more with no initial commitments or obligation, just give Brian a call, 503-969-1007. That's 503-969-1007. 503-969-1007.
Red flag warnings issued by the National Weather Service are taken extremely seriously by your energy cooperative. When the winds, temperature, and humidity reach the right mix, wildfire risk is greatly heightened. At Lower Valley Energy, red flag warnings place your cooperative on high alert. While we continue to be proactive in preparedness for severe weather, fires, and outages, during particularly dangerous weather conditions, we will be placing our system on more sensitive settings. These heightened periods of awareness could cause more blinks and/or longer outages, or even power shutoffs in high-risk areas. Under normal, everyday operations, you might experience a blink if there is trouble in your area of the grid. The system would normally try to immediately restore power through the use of reclosers. Normally, our system uses automatic devices called reclosers to quickly restore power after a minor interruption. However, during red flag warnings, we temporarily disable these reclosers to reduce the risk of sparking a wildfire. This means that even a small issue could result in a power outage until we can manually verify the safety of the system. There will be more possible blinks and slower power restoration during these heightened periods. To ensure safety, Lower Valley Energy will carefully inspect the power grid before restoring power after an outage. This may take longer than usual. We understand that power interruptions can be inconvenient, and we appreciate your patience and cooperation during these critical times. Your safety and the protection of our community are our top priorities.
It will be a night to remember at Blue Ribbon Barn on Saturday, July 27th for the Barn Dance with a blend of many music genres located at 750 Cedar Creek Road, north of Thane. There will also be an all-you-can-eat street taco dinner from Stuffed Catering, DJ, and dancing. It's $28 per ticket, and a cash bar also available on site. It's the Barn Dance at Blue Ribbon Barn, north of Thane, Saturday, July 27th at 6:30 p.m. For tickets, call Blue Ribbon Barn at 307-222-4125. That's 222-4125.
The latest news, sports, weather, and more. This is the Weekday Wake Up on the SVI Radio Network.
8:38 this morning, live on SVI Radio, Swift 98, and The Spur. Thank you again for joining us for our live candidate forum here on SVI Media, as we broadcast live on Swift, The Spur, with video coverage also of this candidate forum, live on SVInews.com. and the SVI Media YouTube channel. We just concluded our candidate forum for those running for the House of Representatives within our local radio footprint. Previous to that was our Senate district candidates, and now it's time to move on to those running for Lincoln County Commissioner. And as we do so, I have joining me in studio today current Commissioner Jerry Hansen, along with Mel Shumway and Joe Heward. Eileen Merritt had a previous commitment already scheduled for this weekend prior to the date of this forum being set, so we've allowed Eileen to pre-record her responses to this forum. She was held to all the same standards that our live candidates have. She was given the same amount of time to prepare. She was held to the same time limits, and she had to record her answers as if they were live, meaning she didn't get second chances or retakes or any edits or anything like that. She had one shot as if she was live to answer those questions. So we have, again, Jerry Hansen, Joe Heward, Eileen Merritt, and Mel Shumway in studio today. Each candidate will be given a series of questions. They'll each answer each question. There is a 1-minute time limit for each response, so we have time to get through all of our candidates and each question today. Each candidate will also be given an opening and closing statement as they wish. So let's begin as we go right down the row. We'll start with Commissioner Jerry Hansen, first out of the gate this morning with his opening statement. Commissioner.
Good morning, Duke, and thank you very much to you and to SVI Media for this opportunity for us as candidates for County Commissioner. I am currently serving, I am the incumbent County Commissioner. I've served for the last 3.5 years, Lincoln County, as your Commissioner. I would appreciate an opportunity to continue to serve you as I have some unfinished business. We have much going on in the county. If during this interview, Duke, I say I, in many instances, I mean we. I don't speak for the county commissioners, but I do appreciate how many county employees that do such a great job serving the residents and visitors to Lincoln County. Thank you, Duke.
Thank you, Commissioner. And opening statement for Mr. Mel Shumway.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Mel Shumway, and I'm candidate for County Commissioner. I live here in the county. I've been a resident my whole life. Went to different places for college and such, but I'm really blessed to live, work, and recreate in such a beautiful county. My background is rooted in agriculture and natural resources. I run a business that I'm fortunate to run from one end of the county to the other several times a week. So I've got to know the county very intimately over the last 7 years, the communities, the wonderful people in the communities. I've served on the Forest Service, the Grays River Forest Service Collaborative Board since 2016, trying to help the Forest Service be more proactive on our forests for forest health. I also serve on the state BLM Resource Advisory Council, and I have the director's ear for concerns and things in our area that the BLM is in charge of. So I would appreciate your support come August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. And Mr. Joe Heward.
Good morning. Thanks, Duke. I'm a resident of Thane. I've been there for 20-some years. I'm married to my amazing wife, Denise, and have a successful business. I'm probably better known as Denise's husband. I've dedicated 29 years to working with the local power company, Lower Valley Energy, and my public service experience includes 14 years in the city of Thane. There I've helped on the council oversee the water department, parks and rec department, and our community tourism board and our beautification committee. This is how I've learned how to get grants and work with other local governments. And additionally, I've been continuously enhancing my skills by taking online business classes so I can be up to date on ideas. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. And the response from Eileen Merritt.
My name is Eileen Merritt, and I'm running for County Commissioner. I served my community as a volunteer in EMTs for 20 years, an advocate for Turning Point for over 25 years. I served 12 years as a board member of the Lincoln County School District No. 2, having been the only woman board chairman. I served 10 years on the BOCES board, serving as the chair for 6 years. My husband and I owned and operated wholesale bait for 23 years. We now own and operate Legacy Homes Assisted Living for the past 26 years. I've been asked what my platform is, and I don't have one, except accountability, transparency, communication, and as a board member, it's my fiduciary responsibility to oversee and manage the budget. I organized the Association of Assisted Living and Board and Care. I worked with the legislators in Cheyenne to form a long-term care waiver, saving taxpayers' dollars, and Lincoln County was the first to benefit from this program.
That will conclude our opening statements this morning with our SVI Media Candidate Forum for those running for Lincoln County Commission. Our first question will be first answered by Mel Shumway. The question is, even though property tax law needs to be changed at the state level, what can you do as a county commissioner to help reduce property taxes and prevent the sharp increases from happening again in the future? Mr. Shumway.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, property taxes and valuation is bound by state statute. While it'd be nice to alleviate the tax burden to our citizens, we do have to follow the state guidelines. It's been helpful to take advantage of the state property tax rebate program. If you've not delved into that yet, I'd sure encourage you to do that. Also, Lincoln County has funded a rebate program which will help alleviate some of the tax burden for our citizens. The main thing is we need to be mindful of the budget. To work to keep it lean but effective. I can also work to encourage special districts and the county districts to maintain and trim the mill levies that they work with It's not an easy task, but small things can add up for savings for our citizens in Lincoln County.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. Same question regarding property taxes for Mr. Heward.
Okay, some of the things you can do to help alleviate property taxes is we need to have efficient budget management, diversifying the revenue services, economic development, property tax relief programs, and regular property assessments. We also need to push, as he said, as Mel said, it's a state issue. We need to push for state level reform, one that benefits everyone. By focusing on these strategies, I aim to protect our residents from sharp increases in property taxes and create a more stable and predictable financial environment for our county. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. And the response for Mrs. Eileen Merritt.
I need to better educate myself and others in regards to the proposal for the 50% reduction of property tax that is proposed by the Secretary of State, Chuck Gray. We need to become more financially responsible, spending less than our budget and saving for items that need to be purchased in the future. I contacted the WCCA, Wyoming County Commissioner Association, in regards to help with education, training, and seminars to help in regards to solutions and to help counties make the best informed decisions.
And answering the same question, Commissioner Hanson.
Working on this issue. It is a state of Wyoming issue. I would encourage voters to become very familiar with this issue. They are on the side of paying the property taxes, but on property tax relief. Currently there's a property tax refund program at the county level. October 14th is the deadline for that. They could check with Treasurer Greenfield in Kemmer regarding that. But property taxes are painful for many people. I hope that folks recognize that over 70% of those property taxes end up going to education, and we know how valuable education is to us and to the residents of this county.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is SVI Media's Candidate Forum. Currently speaking with candidates running for Lincoln County Commissioner and one commission seat up for vote in this upcoming primary election happening on August 20th. Heading into our next question, Mr. Heward will answer this question first. And sticking with the property tax theme, Mr. Heward, if property tax law does change at the state level and leads to a drop in revenue to Lincoln County, what areas can the county cut back to offset this loss in funding?
First, we need to make sure that we're operational efficiency. We need to do an audit service, conduct a thorough review of our county services to identify if there's any inefficiencies and eliminate waste. We can streamline some processes. We need to negotiate our contracts and make sure and look at some possible outsourcing, make sure that we're getting the best price for what we're getting. Then we need to prioritize maintenance. We can also do energy and utilities, energy efficient programs, invest in energy saving measures such as LED lighting. We did this in the Thane Community Center. It was able to lower our power bill enough that we had savings in 6 months. Utility audits, and then you need to look at grant opportunities. Aggressively pursue state and federal grants. We were able to just pick up from the mineral funded grant a $100,000 backup pump generator for our water system in Thane. By thoughtfully prioritizing essential services and exploring innovative ideas, we can make sure that we can handle a drop in revenue without sacrificing the quality of life for our Lincoln County residents.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. And the response from Mrs. Eileen Merritt.
Departments would need to look for areas where cutbacks could be made. Talking to those working in the trenches and not coming from the top down. We need to look at other sources of revenue, such as the OTB funds that were presented at the Republican committee meeting in Cokeville. With all the proposed housing developments, this will be an increase in revenue.
And the response on this question from Commissioner Hanson.
Duke, we visit regularly, and I visit regularly with members of the state legislature. We also attend annually the legislature with the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, of which I'm a member, and we go down there and we visit with the legislatures during the legislative session about issues like this. Could I encourage folks to become aware and informed regarding the constitutional amendment that is being put forth at the general election on November 5th. That constitutional amendment would allow for residential property to be broken out from the other classifications to be able to handle that, but it has to be done to follow the Constitution of the state of Wyoming.
And Mr. Shumway, same question for you.
County valuation has just been released, and it's down slightly from last year. Not a lot, but a little bit down. I don't think this will be a drop in revenue, and property taxes will continue to escalate. However, if hopefully when we get some property tax relief, we need to take a hard look at areas to trim on the overall budget. The budget has been released, and it is up from last year, but it's not surprising. All of our budgets are up from last year. We've seen our household budgets increase. We know that things are more expensive. Currently, industry pays about 55% of the revenue in Lincoln County. With the increase of new industry in the county, I would hope to increase that level of revenue and help offset the potential decrease of property value revenue. We need our industry, and I hope to work closely with them and make sure that they know how important they are to Lincoln County as we can continue to grow the industry in Lincoln County.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. Moving on to our next question for those running for office in the Lincoln County Commission. Similar question, but just kind of flip-flopped for our candidates. The question is, if county revenues stay the same or increase despite changes to property taxes, in what ways can you ensure the county is fiscally responsible with its finances? And Mrs. Eileen Merritt will be up first to answer this question.
My background is in healthcare, and this is similar to when I was elected to the school board. I have to educate myself, but I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Look to other counties who have come to a solution, such as the county landfill, that we have spent millions of dollars, and I don't think we have the best solution yet. The 20 years I served on the ambulance, twice we were able to purchase new ambulances, saving and raising money. We tried to find good homes for our used ambulances and had no idea that LaBarge needed an ambulance. Communication is a problem.
And same question for Commissioner Hanson.
On refining our employees' salary step schedule regarding wages, we go through the process to determine how the budget should be put together and whether there are increases or decreases. We meet with the department heads, and we meet with so many of senior citizens centers and search and rescue and a variety of entities that utilize county funds as part of that budget. And we advertise the fact that we're going through the budget process. We have a budget hearing, so transparency in allowing the public to be able to see how the budget is being put together, and then we pass the budget, which we did just about 2 weeks ago.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Same question for Mr. Shumway.
Mainly, we need to make sure we have open books and transparency. Budgets are difficult. I've been on both ends of budgets, building budgets, abiding by the budgets. It's a big budget for Lincoln County, and things can kind of get lost in the shuffle. I want to make sure that the best interest of the county is always first and foremost. I want to make sure that who we are doing business with is open and transparent, and who is doing business in the county. The bottom line, I want to make sure that things are fair and open as far as when it comes to the Lincoln County budget.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. And same question regarding fiscally responsible spending with Mr. Heward.
Yeah, I believe the budgeting is a very difficult process that needs to be transparent, and we can view what's going on. One of the priorities is we need to benchmark ourselves with other Wyoming communities, Wyoming counties, and make sure that they're in line, that we're following stuff. Maybe they have better ideas by looking at those. I like to prioritize maintenance to keep what we have and make it good and make it last. And then contractor review, make sure our vendors and stuff and our contractors are both local and that we're getting a good price for stuff. Mainly opening and the transparency on the budget will help a lot. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. You're listening to SVI Media's Candidate Forums and currently talking with those running for Lincoln County Commissioner. In studio today, we have Commissioner Jerry Hansen, Joe Heward, Mel Shumway, and also Eileen Merritt joining us with pre-recorded responses this morning. Heading into our next question, and we'll start with Commissioner Hansen first on this one. The question is, recently, the current Lincoln County Commissioners voted 2-1 in favor of a salary increase for one of the 3 seats on the commission, with the other 2 seats to be voted on in the future. Do you agree or disagree with these salary increases for commissioners in Lincoln County? Mr. Hansen.
I appreciate the question, Duke, and I disagree with the salary increases for the county commissioners. In fact, I was the one dissenting vote. I voted against the measure to increase county commissioner salaries in a vote in the recent months.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. And Mr. Shumway.
I'm not opposed to people being paid fairly. Salaries are difficult, especially when they're scrutinized by the public. As I understand, it's been several years since commissioners had a raise, and perchance it probably should have been maybe enacted several years ago in smaller steps to just incrementally keep that going. What I am in favor of and would like to see implemented, that if and when salary discussion and salary increases come up, that commissioners are eligible for a increase in salary on their second term, so it'd be more of a paying the commissioner, not the office.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway, and same question for Mr. Heward.
Yeah, I disagree with the recent decision to increase the salary for one of the current seats. Instead, I'm always been proposing, one of my proposals is that we go to a 5 county seat member, but we take that 5 and just divide the salary by 3. And the reason I think we can do that is it increases representation and accessibility. It'll improve our public engagement. It'll make enhanced decision making, and it gives us transparency and trust. Basically, while I understand the need to ensure that our commissioners are fairly compensated for their work, I believe that expanding and restructuring the commission is a more responsible approach, and it balances the need for fiscal prudence and the need for effective and representation in government.
Thank you, Mr. Heward, and the same response or same question and the response from Eileen Merritt.
Salary increases are a state statute, but if we're struggling with balancing the budget, how can you, in good conscience, give yourself a raise? I've never been paid for any of the services. I've always been a volunteer. If the economy supports the raise, then it might be appropriate. So at this time, I would vote no.
Thank you for joining us for our Lincoln County Commissioner Candidate Forum during the weekday wake up on SVI Radio and with live video coverage on SVI Media. Heading into our next question, this will be answered first by candidate Mel Shumway. The question is, how do you plan to balance the needed growth in affordable housing in Lincoln County while keeping our rural agricultural setting? Mr. Shumway.
Yeah, this is difficult. Affordable housing is a big concern. Our average median price for homes in Lincoln County in 2023 was $485,000. How are starter families going to be able to afford to relocate here if they need to? I'm concerned that the current market will impact our communities. We need new teachers. We need hospital workers. We need entry-level industry workers, and I would like to take a hard look at some of the zoning and how we can put multiple housing units in. I'd also like to explore ways to have industry in special districts like schools, hospitals, help offset some of the housing with signing bonus or stipend. The bottom line is we need good people and we need good workers. Sometimes, how about protecting our natural resources in our rural settings? Sometimes the answer is going to have to be no. We need to take a hard look at some of these areas where development is taking place, and I don't want our rivers and our wells in peril. So zoning is going to be the big thing.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. And Mr. Heward, same question.
Yeah, I agree that I'm not so concerned about other people moving in, but I can't even keep my own kids in the valley. The cost is too high. But the balancing for need for affordable housing and the preservation of Lincoln County's rural agriculture requires a really thoughtful and strategic plan. Part of that's with our planning board, maybe some zoning revisions and cluster development, incentives for affordable housing, developer incentives, and support agriculture preservation, the farmland preservation programs, and urban growth businesses. By integrating these strategies, you can foster necessary growth in affordable housing while representing and preserving Lincoln County's rural agricultural heritage. It's trying to find the right balance between development, conservation, and maintaining property rights to ensure that we meet the needs of without compromising the character of Lincoln County.
And the response to the same question from Eileen Merritt this morning.
We need to be proactive, not reactive. I went to a commissioner meeting and I observed a knee-jerk reaction for 20 minutes. We need to look to department heads and have discussions before having to make a final decision, knowing we've made an informed decision. I printed off 45 pages of the budget, went to the meeting that lasted 8 minutes. Did you know that 24,000 partial tax documents were sent out last year? 405 people applied for the Wyoming property tax refund. 59 were denied, so 346 were granted out of 24,000. Mr. Greenfield has been, and others have been giving trainings and helping residents to assist with this, and they have extended the date to September 30th. We need to be looking at our infrastructure, such as water, sewer, roads, and maintaining our open space.
Thank you, Eileen Merritt. And the final response to this question from Commissioner Hanson.
Duke, currently in Lincoln County, there are proposals to develop residential housing in Diamondville, Kemmer, Afton, Thane, and Alpine. And as part of that, we want very much of that to be affordable housing. As I've talked to contractors and developers who are doing a portion of that work, that's important. In the county, and part of the reason for that is the infrastructure that's in place in those municipalities, water and sewer that's made available to developers and to residents. At the same time, we are doing some studies regarding wastewater treatment in the county and how best to handle the sewage from a septic tank.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Moving on to our next question this morning for our candidates running for Lincoln County Commissioner, and Mr. Joe Heward will answer this question first this morning. The question is, as Commissioner, how would you work with the new energy production coming to southern Lincoln County, such as the Natrium Nuclear Facility, while still encouraging growth in the staple industries such as coal and natural gas? Mr. Heward.
I think this is a very important part. With understanding the local needs, I've seen, having worked for Lower Valley for 29 years, I have a deep understanding of the region's energy consumption and its patterns of growth. This experience positions me to make really informed decisions and be able to use contacts that I have in the energy sector to understand what we need. But we need a comprehensive energy strategy that enhances our coal and natural gas industries, as they're going to be a big support for everything that we do. We also need to support the nuclear energy growth, but we need to make sure that this growth has community investments that ensures the benefits of energy production that translates into tangible improvements for the local community. And then we need transparent communication. Maintain an open line of communication with the residents about the benefits and the impacts of this energy production activities. Transparency builds trust and ensures community support for these projects. Basically, I'd use my experience and my contacts in the energy industry to help make Lincoln County a forward-thinking county for this energy production.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. And the response on this question from Eileen Merritt.
We need to encourage the new industry seeking public input, but continue to look to explore growth in our coal and natural gases. There are always new developments in the future. New and improved, though, isn't always better. For example, the enhanced septic systems. Some of us are older than dirt, and we're doing pretty good.
Thank you, Eileen Merritt. And a response to this question from Commissioner Hanson.
Lincoln County and Wyoming export a tremendous amount of energy. I am an advocate for and supportive of coal, natural gas, and oil in Wyoming. In fact, I look at the nation's need for energy independence, and I think it's very important that we look to Wyoming and to Lincoln County, and by doing that, it will strengthen the energy independence for our nation. Nuclear is one option for energy independence, and I think advanced nuclear, it's ultra safe, is a great way to go, and I'm thrilled to see that Wyoming was selected, that Lincoln County was selected, Kemmer-Diamondville was selected for this.
Thank you to Commissioner Hanson. And final response to this question from Mr. Mel Shumway.
Yeah, new energy production is exciting. I was able to drive past the Natrium construction site last week, and it's exciting to see work commencing. Lots of activity out there. But we need to protect our current and legacy industry too with our coal and natural gas. I work out in the natural gas field protecting these fields. I work with the Naughton Power Plant, and I know that these workers and keeping these legacy minerals and natural resources alive and thriving is vital to Lincoln County, to Wyoming, and to our nation. A recent court ruling has allowed that some BLM leases will be allowed to proceed with development, which they're not new leases, but it's good news that there's a little bit of pushback on some of the regulations, and we're going to be able to do a little more development into the natural gas area.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. That will do it for that question. Just a few questions remain for those candidates running for Lincoln County Commission. Mrs. Eileen Merritt will answer this next question first. How can Lincoln County best use its tourism dollars generated from the hotel and lodging tax through the County Travel and Tourism Board? Mrs. Merritt.
We need to reinvest tourism dollars back into Lincoln County to make it a destination place, such as the Oyster Ridge Festival in South Lincoln County and the Lincoln County Fair, with multiple organizations working together to include different activities lasting more than a day. And I believe we could also explore winter activities also.
Commissioner Hanson, your response to this question?
Lincoln County and the Tourism Promotion Board is right in the process right now with another county to be able to look at the best way to proceed with tourism promotion. I think that study to determine how best to go about that makes a difference. You make a plan, and then you follow the plan, and you can have success when you determine how best to go about that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. And Mel Shumway.
You know, after driving from one end of the county to the other 2 or 3 times a week, I'm not sure there's room for more tourism. It's pretty busy out there, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm not sure the best use for some of these dollars, whether that's information, visitor center type kiosks, or personal interaction, some targeted advertising for some special groups or special interests. I know that some of our festivals and things are well attended, like Oyster Ridge and Alpine Mountain Days and the Stock Dog Trials. I think we do a pretty good job of getting the people there. I would be open to explore other options, though, how to best utilize these tourism dollars.
Thank you to Mr. Shumway and Mr. Heward. Final response to this question.
Yeah, I was able to attend that Oyster Ridge Fest in Kemmer, and what a great event. I was amazed at how many people were there, and that's a great example of how this money is supposed to be used wisely. That brings people in there every single year. I'm on the Thane Travel and Tourism Board, and it's interesting to hear the owners of the hotels and the restaurants, how we spend our money and what we do with it. Right now we're promoting a farmer's market. We had the Heart of Star Valley art piece, the Harry Potter in the Thane Community Center at Halloween. You know, you have the Star Valley Half Marathon. Basically, these are community engagements and support things that we need to do. But probably one of the most important things is our performance measurement. We need to have a feedback mechanism so we can establish a way of getting the information from the consumers and the visitors and find out what experience they've had and address any issues promptly, so we're not spending money again on the wrong thing. Thanks.
Thank you again for joining us with our Commissioner Candidate Forum on SVI Media. Just one final question before we head into the closing statements. And Commissioner Jerry Hanson will answer this question first. The question being, if elected, how do you plan to communicate with the residents of Lincoln County regarding the issues and projects, while also allowing the residents to communicate and express their concerns to you? Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Duke. Those who know me know I have an open door policy. I give them a phone number, 307-885-3006, if you would like to call and visit with me. An email address hansonjw@silverstar.com. You can email me and visit about that. We, in Lincoln County, for the county commissioner meetings held at the county courthouse in Kemmer, the meetings are broadcast to Afton, to the Jefferson Street address, so that anyone in Lincoln County is 45 minutes or less from being able to attend commission meetings if that's what they'd like to do. The meeting minutes are published in the Star Valley Independent on a consistent basis. That's something that we do consistently and are very transparent in the decisions that we make, and I welcome feedback from the public.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Same question for Mr. Mel Shumway.
Thank you. Communication is key to trust, and I want to feel that I'm entrusted in this position as county commissioner. Obviously, I would have a phone to field phone calls and text messages. There'd be email addresses as well, but I would hope that county residents would know who I am and would feel that they could personally come up and visit with me wherever they see me, whether that's at the grocery store, the hardware store, public settings, things like that. I want to be approachable. Being a commissioner has been a big dream of mine for several years, and I want to earn the public's trust and be a problem solver and be someone that they can rely on and communicate with and feel like I'm part of the solution.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. Some question for Mr. Joe Heward.
Yeah, I like the accessibility of meetings. I know they're broadcast to different places, but I don't understand why we don't have them available on Zoom so people can watch them either at their home or they're recorded so they can watch them, but then they can also contact them through the chat. And so as a commissioner, you'd be able to see a concern that I might not have been able to think about. I also think we ought to have evening meetings so a working class person doesn't have to take off work to be able to attend them. I think you also need to make regular visits to city council meetings. You also need to make maybe a booth or something at some of the local farmers markets so people can stop and you're available to talk to them. I've always been able to have people come and talk to me no matter where I'm at, whether it's in the grocery store or any other time. But I think we need to make that accessible to everybody. We have the ability and the technology now to make it so people aren't having to take off work and be able to attend and at least voice their opinion during meetings.
Thank you. And the response to this question from Mrs. Eileen Merritt.
I believe in getting involved and listening to my constituents. That's why I've traveled to LaBarge, Kemmer, and Diamondville, attended events, and listened to the residents, listened to their concerns and their needs for their individual communities. If elected, I'm here to represent their needs.
And that will do it for the question portion of our candidate forum here on SVI Media. For those running for Lincoln County Commissioner, each candidate will now have a chance for a closing statement. We'll just continue on with the rotation, and Mr. Mel Shumway will have his closing statement first. Mr. Shumway.
Thank you. Thank you, SVI. This is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for the work you do in our community. It's fun and it's great to have such a quality media outlet to help us out in the things that we do in these communities. I want to thank my family, my wife, Christy, my kids, Maya and Tom. They're adult kids. They're hard workers. I'm proud of them. And without their support, this wouldn't be possible to do. So I'm excited for this campaign. I'm excited to be a commissioner. As we roll into August 20th, why do I want to be your commissioner? I want to give something back to this community that's given so much to me. I want to protect this great county. I want to protect our industries that we have. I want to protect our way of life. I want to ensure that we have a bright future for the several next generations. I want to take some solid leadership that I have gained through my business experience and be a driving force on the commission to steer this county into the future. And I would appreciate your vote on August 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shumway. Closing statement from Mr. Joe Heward this morning.
Yeah, thanks for to be on here today and stuff. I appreciate all the SVI media does. My decision to run for this office has been driven by a commitment of service. I've been on the Town of Thane County or City Council for about 14 years and ran a rec program that basically serves the county, helping the kids, and seeing that I see a county need to be able to expand our services. In Thane, we have a kind of like the broken window policy. If we see it, we try to fix it, make it nice, repair it. It brings up a real beautification part there. I want to ensure fiscal responsibilities. Probably the biggest change I've looked at is not increasing government, but increasing the accessibility. I do believe we need 5 commissioners. That way we have representation from all the way across the county, from Alpine to LaBarge. And in doing so, we wouldn't increase the cost. We just divide the salary of the 5, or the 3 now, into the 5. That's probably my biggest change. I appreciate the opportunity to run and appreciate your vote in August. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Heward. And the closing statement from Mrs. Eileen Merritt this morning.
I believe in being accountable and transparent. I believe that 99.9% of problems are communication. I believe in standing firm in what we value and what my constituents want. There's a reason people want to locate to Lincoln County, and we need to preserve what our ancestors built and what we want to maintain for our posterity so that they can afford to live here. I would be honored to serve as your county commissioner, and I would appreciate your vote August 20th.
And the final closing statement, this time from Commissioner Jerry Hansen. Mr. Hansen.
Duke, thank you again to you and SVI Media for this candidate forum. I've enjoyed very much this opportunity. I am a Lincoln County resident, one of the greatest counties in the United States of America. My family loves Lincoln County. I love Lincoln County. I am honored to serve as a Lincoln County Commissioner. We cooperate with many entities throughout the county to make life better for residents of Lincoln County. That will continue to occur. You can approach me, you can visit with me. In fact, it occurs on mostly a daily basis, either in person, on the phone, or via email. I appreciate the opportunity to serve. It has been my honor, and I appreciate your vote on August 20th at the primary election.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. That will conclude our candidate forums this morning with the SVI Media, and that specifically our forum for those running for Lincoln County Commission offices. And just one seat up for election in this upcoming election year, with the primary happening on August 20th. Candidates include Commissioner Jerry Hansen, the incumbent, and challengers Joe Heward, Eileen Merritt, and Mel Shumway. Again, the primary election up and coming August 20th. You can find a full rebroadcast, or at least archive, of all of the candidate forums held today on SVInews.com and also on the SVI Media YouTube channel. Previously, we spoke with those running for Senate District 14, covering southern Lincoln County and other portions of southwest Wyoming. Also, we had House District Representative candidates in studio, and just most recently, Lincoln County Commission candidates. Again, thank you so much. You can find the archive of the entire SVI Media Candidate Forum online at SVInews.com and the SVI Media YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us from the SVI Radio Studios.